Hey friends, I'm back out in the utility building. I'm ready to connect all three of these batteries together. First, I need to turn off the inverters, the chargers, everything. So, first one inverter, the next inverter, and I just lost the overhead light because the power's off. And you'll hear a beep because that's the UPS in the background for my Starlink. Well, you won't be able to see in here a whole lot, but I have a trickle charger set up here that I was charging one battery. I don't need to do that anymore. Let's check to make sure that this battery is already still charged up. All four LEDs on this battery are on, so the battery is charged fully. I'll turn that off because that's part of the new startup sequence. So this trickle charger, like all trickle chargers, doesn't put out a whole lot of power into a battery. It takes probably 5 times, 6 times as much time to charge a battery as my other charger. The other battery charger was connected to the second battery here. I'm just going to take a look and see if that's still fully charged. Now you may wonder why I didn't use this bigger charger. It runs at least 3 times as much power as that trickle charger, and actually probably more. And this one's fully charged. So I now have 3 batteries that are all fully charged. Now the reason why I didn't use this battery the entire time for all of these batteries, this battery charger to charge all these batteries, is because this thing failed. I tried to charge one of the batteries and I had a big spark. There was a problem that happened here in the charger. That's fixed. I went ahead and fixed that. It took a little conversation with the supplier, but that's good now. Hooking these batteries back up isn't really difficult. It's a pretty simple job. Mostly because I didn't completely disconnect the batteries. I'm sliding one of the insulators that goes to the minus side of this battery so that terminal is covered. All I'm trying to do is avoid shorting batteries out. These batteries have a lot of power in them. It's about 5.5 kilowatt hours. So that can turn into a massive spark. And if I dead short, I'll be creating some other problems, including having to go in and fix some things inside these batteries, which I really don't want to have to do. Now let me look for the positive terminals. One positive terminal here. That's covered by the red insulator. And I have another one right over here. This longer, it's not longer, it's actually the same exact length as all of these cables. That's done to match the resistance. If I have a difference in resistance between these cables, there'll be a different amount of power pulled out of each battery, which means it won't be a really optimal use of my batteries. Now the startup sequence for these batteries is very, very particular. I need to make sure that batteries are turned on in a very specific order. which is what I'm about to do. First I have to get them connected. And as a safety precaution, I don't have any jewelry or conductive stuff on me that could accidentally short any of the batteries. What's taken the time, I'll go back to July, right before we were about ready to go on our big trip to Pennsylvania. This one battery over here had a problem, and it quit working. I talked with the manufacturer about how to fix it while I was on the road, because when I say it failed right before we were getting ready to leave, it was less than 24 hours before we were to leave. And the problem with that is that I didn't have time to go in and diagnose the problem. Mostly because I needed to spend time with the manufacturer. I did that when I came back. I got back in September and we started that entire process up. Now I wasn't here the entire time, so that slowed the process down a little bit. I want to make sure all these terminals are tightened down enough, but there's an aluminum thread that these bolts need to thread into. And if you over tighten that, you'll strip it, which means you have another really big problem. That problem means I would have to replace this entire front panel, which I don't want to have to do. It's not that difficult, but it takes time. Well, I need to find the other, there's the insulator back there. I need to find the other insulator because I don't want to have any terminals open so that something could be shorted. Let me see if I can reach back there and get it. Of course, it's the most inconvenient location. Fortunately, I have a tool I can use. I'm just using a wrench to move it close enough so that I can actually reach it. So I have that now. I can just go ahead and put this on. To this cable. Now, strictly speaking, I shouldn't be able to create a spark. All of these batteries are turned off, so there's no voltage on any of these terminals, which means I should be perfectly safe. But you know, why take a chance? It's a little tricky working in between all these cables. It's not really hard, but I'm taking my time to make sure I don't screw up. One of the problems with not having enough light is not having enough light. And I'm not really interested in holding a flashlight in my mouth this morning. And one of the things you have to do with lithium batteries, really pretty much any battery, you want to make sure that the batteries that you're going to hook up or connect together are the same kind, that is the same chemistry. Now these are lithium iron phosphate batteries, so they're all the same chemistry. But I want to make sure that they're all about the same voltage, which has been really one of the major pains to get done here. Alright, now tighten that up. Even though there's little risk of shorting batteries out, I always try to keep the same kind of practice in place all the time. Because once you start deviating from that practice, that will be the time when you have actually a live terminal or live wires that you don't expect to be live. And that can cause a really big problem. I've seen lead acid batteries actually explode before. Well, yeah, they did explode. When you short a battery out, it'll heat inside because there's actually resistance in the battery. Alright, now I have all of the terminal covers on. They're not terribly secure, but they stay in place just fine. Now these batteries communicate with each other. There is a CAN bus. That's another kind of computer communication. It uses these very water resistant connectors. There's a standard what looks like Ethernet connection, and it is, but then there's these water resistant, very water resistant connectors that slide over it and screw on. Now I have to get into an undignified position because I need to connect this battery here to that battery over there. And then it'll be time for me to walk you through how I start this thing up. But first I'm going to get down on my knees, which is not going to be a lot of fun. Well, one of the things I just learned is that this connector does not snap the same way as a normal Ethernet connector does. So I just have to make sure I have it seated enough. And I'm going to turn this. There's a little water protective covering. I'm going to make sure that's lined up so that I'm actually able to screw the cover on. All the others were already set, evidently. This one I don't know why wasn't, but it wasn't. Okay. Well, let's see if I can make these batteries talk to each other now. Well, after an awful lot of fooling around, I have the batteries connected to the bus bar. That's what connects all the batteries together in the back there. I have the communication set up between all the batteries. Has a specific sequence to bring these batteries online. I have to start with the number 1 battery, which is this one right here. I turn it on, and it's going to go through its power on sequence. Now the manufacturer specifies that all the batteries need to be within a half volt of each other, and the reason for that is they don't want to have more current flowing between the batteries than a certain amount. Well, let's see, make sure things go with the second battery. It's going to turn on. I hope it turned on. It's going through its power on test sequence. And now it's working. So that's the second battery. Now I get to turn on the third battery. First I'm going to take all these wrenches off. Alright, turn on the third battery. It's gone through its power on sequence and it says it's happy. Alright, fingers crossed. Let's turn on the first inverter. So far so good. We have lights, which means we have AC here in the utility building. We have it in the house. And now the second inverter. It's on. Well, you can hear all the fan noise, I'm sure. After 7 months of messing around with first getting this battery fixed, secondly getting my charger fixed, getting all 3 batteries charged to the same or very close voltage, I'm now able to hook them all together and they seem to be working. Now, there's a possibility there could still be a problem with my number 1 battery, so I'm going to keep an eye on this system for the next several weeks. I have another trip to Flagstaff today, 4 days this week. What are you going to do? To go over everything we've done so far, in July of last year, this battery failed. There was a software glitch and the battery did not function right, which brought the entire system down. I went away for 2 months on business, came back and started the long process of dealing with Fortress Power. Very good company, easy to work with, but it takes time to talk to people on the phone, then it takes time for parts to come from Pennsylvania to Arizona, and then I have to be home to put them together and have enough time. It's not like I don't have other things to do. This system is very important for us, but it seems to be working. I charged all the batteries up so they were all within 1/2 volt of each other. In the meantime, between November, when I got this battery mostly fixed, and today, we've had a lot of overcast days which slow down the ability to get all these batteries charged up. To charge one of these batteries with my trickle charger is 5 or 6 days. To charge one of these batteries up with my bigger charger, once it was working, takes about 12 to 15 hours. So, everything's charged up. Everything's hooked up back the way it's supposed to. I have a few things I'm going to want to do this weekend. I bought some specific things to fix a few issues I have with holes in the case here that aren't supposed to be the way they are. So I'll get that fixed. What happened was one of the knockouts that I used broke. Not just the knockout that I was using, but the larger knockout. So in terms of the National Electrical Code, you're not supposed to be able to reach into the electrical system and shock yourself or poke something in. So I have a few things like that to take care of. That's good. Next on my list is rewiring my charge controllers for the solar panels. I need to get all this wire neatened up and in conduit to go from the charge controllers to this side of the electrical system. And I'm going to have to make a decision about whether or not I want to install a bypass circuit to go from the generator straight to the house. I don't think I do, because that puts electricity back inside this case. When I turn it off, I don't want there to be any power in this box. It's safer. I work by myself. If I make a mistake, it could be fatal, and I don't want to do that. So, well, I hope this was of some interest to you. It's certainly been a long time coming. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, because Irene's down in the studio working on things. She has some things to do up in the house. There's packages for me to take to the post office. And I still need to go to Flagstaff. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye. Hey, keep brainstorming. We are.